This was the impetus of our approach to stopping these power run teams. Back when we were a 4-2-5, we decided on utilizing both the over and under front, and also kicking into an odd front. And since we've become more of a hybrid odd front, we still utilize this concept basing out of the odd. The most important thing, in my opinion, in the approach to stopping a wing T or a power run team is we gotta have a defined force player. That kid must be defined prior to every snap. And then we need to make sure we utilize him by spilling the ball to those free hitters. The whole concept behind this is that, for a lack of better terms, you're trying to change the math. Their wing T teams are trying to block down and pull players and overload and create more blockers on one side of the ball than on the other. And what we must do as a defense is align in such a way that they can use their rules that they've been taught since they were young players in their system and make them wrong post-snap. So we need to change the math. So when we're facing these teams that are going to try to run the ball down your throat, we attack their schemes. We attack their run schemes and their blocking assignments with pressure and games. These pictures were taken from our old 4-2-5 playbook, but the spacing is what's important. So this is just your basic over spacing, okay? With a 6 or a 6-eye C-gap player to the strong side, a 3 technique, B-gap responsible, a backside shade, A-gap responsible, and a 5 technique who's C-gap responsible, but all these guys are going to be spillers. We like to attack these teams with different front structures, so some even spacing, some odd spacing, and just try to make them apply every blocking rule that they know. Another type of spacing that we like is to get into G, which is going to be a 2-eye. It's an over front with a 2-eye on the backside. One of the more utilized and effective manners that we attack these teams is by creating a big bubble like the old Miami 4-3 did with a 9 technique, and presenting that bubble to the play side that we're going to have. We make the offense assume that we're going to have an issue, okay, defending this gap, but we're going to take it away post-snap with the defensive end or the outside linebacker or someone else. Another type of front that we would use is double 2-eyes. In our old terminology, this was called tough. Or you can call it what you want, but both the tackle and the nose being A-gap players, trying to create the bubbles in B-gap. And then another one that we would utilize would be what we call 35, which would be double 3s and double 5s. Obviously, with the tight end, that 5 would be a 6-eye. And then in the odd front, what we will do is in our old days of the 4-2-5, we would kick everybody over and play that strong side end in the 9 technique in odd spacing. And because we were even front roots, we would always stunt in some manner back to either an over and under for run fit purposes. But in our current defensive approach, this would be our base. We might utilize a sub package that we call heavy or pig, and insert at this end spot, insert an extra defensive lineman or a thicker linebacker that his main concern is to play through the tight end and control him as an anchor point so that he can't easily release down into the inside linebackers. If with our modern approach, we use knockback technique when we're in the odd front to control the tackle, the center, and the tight ends. The guards against a wing T team, the guards are likely going to pull most of the time anyway. So if we cover them up, the linebackers don't get as clear of a picture as to where they are flowing as if we leave them uncovered. And I know that might be contrarian to what you know, but this is just what works for us. Our general approach to two backs and blitzing two back offenses is, first thing we got to know is what type of team are they? Are they a wing T team? Are they a power I team? Are they a zone team out of heavy personnel? We need to know these things because they can have some minor adjustments to the way that we do things. Versus man blocking. So we need to take a hard look at the way that they block their runs. So against man and gap blocking teams, these are the three tenets that we use in the approach. Number one, we got to make them chase ghosts. That 16-year-old guard or tackle has been taught since he was in middle school in that wing T system that on buck sweep, his rule is gap down backer. So what we want to do is allow him pre-snap to apply his rule and feel good about it, and then post-snap, change the picture on him. So if you align a player inside of the tight end or inside of the tackle, and his rule is gap down backer for that particular run play, he's gonna get lined up and be fired up because there he is, he's in my gap, I'm gonna block him. Well, what happens when that defender post-snap is no longer there? Well, that tackle might be, all right, I'm locking onto him, and he turns his shoulders and he tries to bury him down inside, and we backfill that gap. Or maybe if that defensive player loops outside, he goes to block him and turns out, now we have a log jam outside where the ball was supposed to be. By utilizing this concept and making the players chase ghosts, you oftentimes find that those players who know their rules inside and out, they're going to go to the sideline after an unsuccessful drive, and their offensive line coach is going to be digging in their rear about, why didn't you block the backer? Why couldn't you get to the backer? We have to get to the backer. And he's going to be palms up. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how to do it. Again, you are not trying to get in a chess match with a 30-plus year veteran coach that's on the opposing sideline. If you do that regularly every Friday night, you're probably going to be in some trouble, wins and losses. What you should be doing is trying to attack what the rules and the concepts that those 15, 16, 17-year-old young men know and how well they can execute. Number two, against man and gap blocking teams, is we need to spill. We need to spill the ball, spill any kickouts, and make that ball bounce to a free hitter, to our primary force defender. When we get to the film, you're going to see that guard trap, short trap can be a very devastating play if you're not good at spilling and wrong arming. The way that we look at it, our defensive line must be in control of trap by trying to hammer their technique, squeeze, and be quick to wrong arm any puller. The third tenet is gap exchanges. So when that defensive tackle is going to hammer the tight end, and that tight end takes a down blocking step, and he steps inside and he's chasing it, his eyes are going to follow him. As he's getting his hands on that tight end, he's going to flatten him out, flatten his rear end out so he has a bad angle to the linebackers, and then he's going to get his eyes inside and be looking for something to spill. If the ball is going away in a reach block type of scenario, he's going to be in the chase mode where he's chasing the heels of the offensive lineman in pursuit, not getting up the field. That's the key. Now, versus heavy personnel zone blocking teams, let's say 11, 12 personnel teams, we use these three approaches. Number one, we want to penetrate our gap 2 steps, get the blocker's shoulders turned. Turned shoulders into you means that he can't combo out easily to a linebacker. Our linebacker should be able to slip him. Number 2 is we want to anchor gaps. If I'm responsible for B gap and I'm playing 3 technique and that guard's working to block me, I have to create a new line of scrimmage with that man's body, hammer him back and control this B gap and not get widened. And then we need to eliminate cutback with that flat pursuit, chasing the heels of the lineman down the line at the first level.